I have a question for you. I want to know about your videos that you started doing that are so fun and so enlightening. And so, how did that happen?
Well, I thank you for that compliment on them. They are so much fun to make, and that's kind of how it happened. There's a couple of things. One, I was a theater major in college and a directing major, and so my brain kind of works that way. And I've written my own scripts and that kind of thing back in the day, but that's just not a skill set that I've been utilizing very much. And as I've watched other people's videos, I've always been like, oh, yeah, I could do that. And then I'd have these ideas that I would be like, that's funny. I should totally do that. But it felt like it was so overwhelming, right? Like
Mhm.
I have to do this, and then I have to do that, and then I have to do this. Well, then some of my friends within my circle started talking about making their own videos. And I had this moment where it was so clear that if I didn't just do this, I was going to regret it. Because I am totally the kind of person that gets in my head that would be like, oh, I don't want them to think that I'm copying them, or I don't want this, or I don't want that. And so I just was like, do it. And the second I decided I was going to do it, the idea flashed in my head. I think it's a gift. It's a like a gift from my team, my
Mhm.
spirit team. Usually I'll have kind of a quick glimpse of something funny. If I start laughing, I'm like, great, let's go with this. And then it's funny, it honestly, the script comes in the shower almost always because
Yeah.
that's we quiet our minds, right? And there's no distractions and all of that. And so bless my husband because when he's walking by the bathroom, he hears me giggling in the shower a lot. And if I am laughing at myself and at like what's coming through, then I keep going with it. And then I have to instantly write it down.
Mhm.
Uh, but I'm just so glad the first one I did, which is really near and dear to my heart, was this idea of the soul contract. Um and how not there it was, right? And so I was watching through some of the old videos last night, which is funny. I've only been doing this 6 weeks, and I'm like the old videos. Uh, it's just fun to look back on that first one, and honestly, the magic of it, of like how it quickly came together, and how it didn't feel overwhelming, and how I just followed the joy of it,
Mhm.
and how I'm just keeping doing that. So I'm just really in gratitude about that coming back into my life.
That is so fun. And that one just cracked me up. It's like, yep, that's me. That's what I say all the time. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what's I mean, they're starting to pick up speed on Instagram. I have one in particular that just took off. It's got like, I don't know, 120 some thousand views. And
Wow. Yay.
yeah, it's been crazy. Um, but what's so fun about it is that camaraderie, right? It's that idea of people being out there. We know it within Awkwardly Zen. We
Mhm.
all met through doing Awkwardly Zen, and so we understand there's other people like us out there. But on Instagram, we're reaching a bunch of people that had no idea, right? They're like, that happens to me all the time. Or, yes, that makes so much sense. Thank you so much. I thought I was alone in this. And so it's like this extra level of joy because I get to
Mhm.
do it in a lighthearted way, and poke fun at it all a little bit because it's also ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love
Exactly.
that because your videos you very much speak to kind of the journey, right?
Yes.
And yet at the same time, it's nice to be able to say that you can talk about spiritual things and still have levity. You can still, yeah, kind of
Yeah. Well,
find humor and joy in it.
and I think for me, that's been part of the message for my team for so long, my spiritual team. So my guides, my angels, is lighten up, Ari. Go have more fun, follow your bliss, find the joy, like all of these things. And I'm pretty good at finding the joy within the moment, but the big picture, I'm not. I get bogged down, I get kind of drudged in, I get overwhelmed, and I overthink, and I do all of that. And I know if that's happening with me and all the work I do, it's happening with a lot of people out there, right? Like, and so it's poking fun at the guides and the angels and the universe and all of that. And it's also poking fun at myself and the ridiculousness of what I let my brain do.
Yeah.
Yes. They're great. Thank you for doing those.
Thank-
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some, I see a new character coming. Lori and I were talking about this earlier. So that's always fun too, is the costumes are really fun for me because I try to keep it simple, but that makes it even sillier.
Yeah. That's
Are you
good.
going with the cat costume?
Well, the cat costume is pretty funny. No, Colby, my kitty does not particularly love costumes. But that in itself has been fun of like, how do I dumb down? Because I am a big costume person. Um, and so normally my costumes would be perfection, but I can't make a quick video if everything has to be perfect. So dumbing down my costumes to like, I cut out a lot of paper. Like one of my videos, I have a cicada sitting right here because it's
I
just
love
a picture
that.
I had him taped all over my face. Um, and that was the costume. And yeah, again, if I'm laughing at myself, we're doing all right. So there's just little moments in each one or in the costumes that just crack me up. Um, and I think it's great to laugh at yourself.
So when you
Yes.
think about kind of wading into the social media world and doing these kinds of things, what have you learned? Like I'm sure it's a journey, right?
It is. It is. It's interesting because I have a very dear friend, Travis Holt. I think he's been on the
Mhm.
podcast. I think he might be
Hmm.
here soon. Who is like, it's really cute because I'm like, I hit 2,000 followers, and Travis is like, yay! And he has like 200,000 or something like that. Right? So like, I have been able to kind of walk with him. I met him when he was already big on TikTok, and then his Instagram took off, and we are in contact, and so I've really had this blessing of getting to learn from him some of the pitfalls. And so some of the things that I think even 6 months ago or a year ago I would have taken personally, I'm just not taking it as personally. And I think that's part of why I didn't do these videos before, is that when somebody comes on and they say something negative, or they feel as though their religion is the right religion, and so they need to make sure I understand why I'm wrong, those kind of things that come up, I'm really just letting them roll off my back and kind of laughing at them again, because I'm like, this is very obviously a very silly video, right? Like, we're not trying to solve all the world's problems in these little minute long videos. So if you feel the need to do that, okay, like, come on in. And usually what I try to do is respond in a very open-minded way,
Mhm.
because that's what I love about at least the community I'm in spirituality, right? Is that it is open. We can talk about different things. We can have different beliefs. We can do that. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is how not to take it personally. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there will be something at some point where that I'll be like, ugh. The other thing, accessibility is such a fascinating thing, and not something that I'm blessed. I am so privileged to not have to think about. Like last night, the video I posted this morning has a red alert. I filmed the entire video with flashing lights.
Oh,
And then
wow.
as I was starting to edit, I heard epilepsy, and I went, and so I had to stop and go reshoot without the flashing lights. So it's also things like that that you don't like. Is there anything within this video that is going to cause someone pain?
Mm.
And I don't want to do that, right? Like, I can't keep everyone happy. That's not the point of it. But I can make sure that I'm making active choices to not trigger someone into a seizure, or not poke at somebody in the rawest of places. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, is trying not to overthink that, because you can,
Mhm.
but also just allow in that awareness that, just because I think something's funny doesn't mean everybody is going to. And I can't care about that too much, but I also don't want to cause pain with my humor. So it's been a bit of a balance, and I think it'll continue to be. I mean, it's crazy how one video, like, I went from 400 followers to over 3,000 followers in a few weeks, and it is different, and it's already changed my business. Like,
Mm.
I already am getting bookings from these new followers and people who are paying attention, and that is such a blessing. So if anyone's out there going, "Ah, I should," just freaking do it. Like, just pull the Band-Aid off and do it. And if you don't know how, ask, because there's so many people out there who have these skill sets. And I was blessed to already have them. So it does go pretty quick for me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then I have friends I can ask when
Yeah,
I
that's inspiring. I hope to jump into that arena at some point myself. But yeah.
well, let me know. We'll chalk it out.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the questions or one of the things that comes up is when you think about presenting yourself to the world in a certain way of like recognizing, I do believe that there's a market out there for anything and everything, and not just in a business sense, but in a I have a belief or a way of looking at the world. I have a way I want to present something, anything you can think of, there's going to be someone out there that it resonates for. But also
Yeah.
like part of my hesitation is been that I bounce around like a pinball, like music on this end, digital art on this end, philosophy, religion, all across the spectrum. It's like, what is it exactly? If I'm wading into those social media waters, like it's almost like you want to have this sense of self before you do, right? Um,
Well,
Well,
what if
I
you
mean,
combined them all?
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Sorry.
it's interesting, Tim. I do think that having a sense of self is important, but I also, for me at least, it's been acknowledging all of those different parts of myself,
Mhm.
because I can't do a funny video every day. That would be exhausting and it would take the fun out of it. So like I try to post them every few days, right? Every 2 or 3 days. Um, but I'm not going to do it if it's not inspired, because I want to be in that. But in between that, I did have to figure out like, what is that filler, right? Because I do want to post every day. It does help if you do that. Some people post multiple times a day. I'm not doing that. So for me, it was, okay, what are the things that I love? Right. And I love pulling cards. I love tarot cards. So that was easy to go, okay, well, and doing those videos is super easy for me, because I just go with what I pull. Card, I pull it, I video it, we're good. Unless I go over a minute, because I always try to keep everything underneath a minute. So then I'll reshoot it if that's the case. But that has been a blessing for me. But then it was still like, okay, I have other stuff. And I used to post pictures of my cat all the time. I still love my cat, don't get me wrong. But as I am, like, that's the thing about learning and being in the flow of social media, is what actually gets attention, what doesn't get attention, what are you doing, and how much do you want to play with that? And I want to play a little bit. I'm not going to like put my head down and be like, I have to do this, because again, if it's not fun for me, then what am I doing? And so it's much more like, hey, how much energy do I have to put towards this? Like yesterday, I posted a video and it literally was me laying in bed, and it was a picture of my legs. And I sang a little song about how I was tired, so I wasn't going to do it that
I
day.
saw that.
Like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was it. And as I was sitting there in bed trying to like get the energy up to get up and make the video and do the thing, I just had this little voice that was like, why? Like, that's not where you are today. That's not the energy you are. So giving myself permission to not do the exact thing has also been very freeing for me. And I see that even as I talk to other people who are doing it. Our friend Stephanie, who's got amazing footage at, what is hers?
Creative Nectar or Creating from the Inside Out, I think is her.
Okay, creating
Yeah.
from the inside out. You guys go follow her. Like, she does the best content, but it's been so fun to watch her just decide it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And she's just doing it. Valerie has started doing, another awesome practitioner, one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world. I also go so far to say my best friend. She will make these videos about coffee, right? She loves coffee, and it'll just be the coffee. She's filming the coffee and talking over it. And so watching everyone kind of figure it out for themselves is awesome. It's great. I do think if you want to be big on Instagram, I mean, the first thing is you got to make videos, and you got to be okay with being small on Instagram. And for me, it's been like celebrating every time. I like, at first it was like every new 100 people, I was like, oh, this is so exciting. It was like Awkwardly Zen, right? Remember when we hit
Mhm.
1,000 people and
Mhm.
we were like, oh my gosh, we're so big. And now it's like, Okay, well, we hit another 1,000 people. Great, keep going. Awesome, keep going. So I don't know. It's just been, now that I've found the joy in it instead of the pressure,
Mhm.
it's been so much fun. And it does help that I'm making people laugh. But more than that, the videos I'm making are for me. Like, I laugh. I love the messages. I love all of that. So to me, even when one doesn't take off, I might go, but I still watch it and laugh. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter then because it's making me happy. Um, and somebody somewhere needed to see that. Right. Somebody, and I got yesterday when I posted that video, I did not expect people to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I got all these thank you messages from people being like, thank you for telling me it's okay that I don't want to do anything today. And I'm like, sure.
Yeah. Well,
Great.
that has been the energy too. I remember seeing that, and it's there's full moon, whatever it is, but
Yeah.
something has been shifting. And yeah, I've had days where I've woken up really inspired and full of energy and wanting to create and excited for this new path that I'm on. And then I have days where I wake up and I'm just like, oh, I just don't even know. That critical voice comes in and starts telling me that I'm doing a terrible job of being a responsible adult, all of these. And just yeah, so but it's interesting to notice within community, and as you know, I still do the paradigm shift discussion group every third Sunday or Saturday of the month, and it's really interesting when those people, the people that need to be there on any given day somehow find their way there, and we'll do introductions and talk about what's going on in community, and there will always be a theme that emerges.
Mm.
And it feels so not random, in that yeah, the conversation will cohesively, organically come out of what's happening in the energy of community. And in some ways that's really cool to see, and in other ways it feels a little helpless sometimes, because I can be going through my days, everything feels very stable and easygoing, and nothing dramatically changes, and then one day I wake up and it's all different, and I'm like, what is this? How do I manage this? Nothing feels different inside, but well, I mean, it does feel different inside, but yeah, the energetic shifts and being kind of tied into the community and the ether sphere, whatever you would call it, in that way is kind of distressing some days.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for days and days. For me, it was the lunar eclipse
Mhm.
knocked me on my head. Like, I just, in all of those things you were talking about, the inner voice and the inner critic and the imposter syndrome and all of those things just like bubbled to the surface in such a drastic way. And I did have a couple days there where it was like, nope. And I had all this hope, right, that the solar eclipse was going to come and wash me clean of all of that, and I was going to be this like, oh, no, that didn't happen. So there's been this up and down over the last few weeks for sure. And I don't tend to focus on the moon, and I shouldn't say that. I've been saying that for years, or for probably about a year, and I've been focusing on it for about a year. So I used to not focus on the solar or the lunar stuff, but I am a lot more now because I can feel it in my body. It's totally different. And I run a community where I am watching those themes come through, right? Like, every single event, there's these themes and these people and people saying the same thing. And so I get to kind of see how everyone fluctuates kind of together. And it makes me really believe in that oneness even more, because we are all dealing with the same kind of things out in the world, even though we're all dealing with drastically different things as well. We
Mhm.
have all of this added energetic crap to deal with. And some days I don't want to. Like, some days I want to go to bed, and sometimes I do. So, and I think we need to talk about that more often, right? We have this pressure to go, 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 go. And I just don't think we were meant to do that.
And I think we're being more and more encouraged to pay attention to that and to allow ourselves the freedom to not do, to not
Yeah.
go, go, go. If we aren't feeling up to it, that if we're not inspired to do that, that it's okay to just be for a day or two or
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where, social media and all the things that you have to do when you're an entrepreneur or when you're starting your own business is so overwhelming, right? Because you don't have someone telling you what to do. You don't have somebody saying this has to get done on this day. And so it's so easy, at least for me, to slip into complacency on things and then beat myself up and have shame because I didn't get this done and I said I was going to get this done. And that's been a pretty challenging cycle. Even though I've been my own boss for years and years and years, now that I don't work for clients, it's a totally different, or my clients are much like I'm doing an hour reading or a coaching session instead of I'm doing a year-long project. So it's a totally different energy, but I just keep getting the message that I'm supposed to be following the joy. And it's not that I don't need to get things done. I do, but what can I do to bring the joy into it? What can I do? And does that mean like to bring the joy into it sometimes is to go take a nap so
Mhm.
that I can face it with more energy. And I have created a life where I can do that. And that is a blessing, absolutely. Um, and some days I can't. Some days there's no naps because I've got one Zoom right after the other. But on those days that I can't, even this morning, I had a bit of a coughing fit. I have some health stuff going on and had to step out of one of our meetings. And that coughing fit caused me to have a bit of it. And I don't know if it's an anxiety attack or what it is, but I go into fight or flight. And then I was shook up. And I just stopped and was like, it doesn't matter what I need to get done today. I will not be able to in this state.
Mhm.
So I went to bed. And then got up a little bit later and I felt so much better. I also got some cuddles in with my cat, so that did help. But I felt so much better. And now here I am doing this podcast with you when if I wouldn't have done that, if I would have tried to push through, I would have had to cancel because my energy wouldn't have been there to do this. So
Right.
I think there's some give and take that happens in this world for sure. At least for me, there has to be, or I'll lose my mind.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think we're just being pushed more and more, all of us, to allow ourselves to do that, to really pay attention to how am I feeling in this moment? What is it I need to be doing, or what can I delay, till tomorrow or whenever? And really focus on, like you say, the joy of that and what makes me feel my most connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
I
that.
think it's, oh, go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I know that, yeah, I'm moving in that direction of trying to be my own boss and things, and it's been a journey. And yeah, some days get very, very busy, and there's a lot of things. And just recently, I found myself going to meet a friend at a park to take a walk, but I got there about 20 minutes early, and I sat on a park bench, and I'm just watching the water, and there were ducks, and feeling the breeze, and I was like, oh, if I'm not doing this, if I'm not taking time to really just be and breathe and center and be present, like why am I doing any of this other stuff? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
sometimes recognizing like the value and the joy and recharging and resting and um yeah, just breathing.
For me, Tim, that gift was given to me with this cat that I have, right? And I know I talk about my cat all the time. I will. I love him. But I asked for more joy. Like literally said in meditation, please bring me more joy. I have to have more fun. And 2 days later, this cat came into my life in the craziest little story and crawled into my engine and all of these things. He was a miracle, right? And he chose me. I have no doubt about that. Um, and one of the agreements I've made with him is that if he comes to me for attention, unless there's some reason I absolutely cannot, I'm going to stop and give him some attention. And that has been such a good lesson for me because there are times that I get myself going in something and he'll come over and put his paws up and try to get my attention. And I'm so in my head that I don't even notice. And then that's usually when those lovely little claws stick out for a second. And my first reaction is to want to get mad. And then I stop and be like, you're not following through with your end of the bargain, Aries. So then when I stop and I pick him up and I have this moment and he purrs against me, it's all good. Like it's all good. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, this is not only did the universe bring me joy with this little cat who makes me laugh all the time, but also brought me awareness to the fact that I was incapable of pausing.
Hmm.
Incapable. Like it just was not on my radar. Somebody wanted my attention. You're going to get half my attention because I'm paying attention to something else and I've got all these things going on. And even like Lori and I talked about this at brunch a couple weeks ago. Everyone thinks I'm so busy and I am, but I'm not. Right? Like I want to make times for my friends. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to have this social, but because I was in that energy for so long of I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? I have created this world where my own friends are like, Aries too busy. So now that I can see that, I have to stop myself from going back into that energy. And I say this a lot to my friends, like, you are absolutely worth my time. And I hope that's the energy I'm putting off now, because for a long time I wasn't. I was putting off the busy energy because that's what I was taught to do. And that's what our culture teaches us to do. If you're not busy, you're not working hard enough. And it's like, ugh. I don't want to live my life that way. And I don't have to. Like there are opportunities, and I'm blessed. I don't have little kids in the house. So all you mamas out there, please don't attack me. It is different when you've got children and things like that, but there still is these brief seconds, if we give ourselves these brief seconds to just be, that we can all take, but we have to allow those seconds to actually be given to us instead of just run by them. And I wasn't good at that. And I'm still not. I still have to remind myself for sure.
So in thinking about, yeah, all of the things that you still have to juggle, like I'm curious, like it's been a while since we chatted about this, but like how is Awkwardly Zen doing? Like what kinds of things are you excited about with that community and all of that?
Lots of things.
Yeah.
Awkwardly Zen is doing great. We're at over 16,000, coming up on 17,000 people. We are currently in 16 locations in 4 different countries. There are some major changes coming at the beginning of May. So I'm really excited about those. We have a kind of a relaunch coming. I haven't posted it yet, but it'll be on our meetup. So if everyone's curious about what's coming, there's just some really fun things that we've been working on in this first quarter of the year. And I've got to give so much credit to the Awkwardly Zen lead team, which is myself, Valerie, Valerie Lewis, Amber Toach, and then David Bach is the newest person who's stepped in. David has stepped in as our CTO, but he's he's definitely more business oriented than the rest of us are. So he's been really helping us kind of get things cleaned up because as you guys know, but most people don't, Awkwardly Zen is all volunteer run. And so everything has just kind of been smushed together, right? So like I always visualize it like the kid with the silly putty, and then they take this color and they take this color and they take this color. So when they end up with their big ball, it's not quite right, but it's beautiful. But it's not, you couldn't call it one thing. And that's kind of how Awkwardly Zen has been, because we do work with volunteers and because most of us are good enough at a lot of things that we're like, sure, I'll do it. And we're not experts. And so it's been nice to have David's point of view and to have him come in and kind of help us go, wait, who's doing this? And how are we doing that? And because as much as Awkwardly Zen will always be what we've created in the community, we will always have our free options for everybody and make sure everyone has a place to land. We do want to turn it into a business. We want to see our partners succeed more. We want to see the people who are volunteering step into actual jobs. Like it would just be beautiful to watch that happen. And that's been part of the vision forever. I just didn't know when it was. I kept getting the message, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, which believe me, drives my very business-minded husband crazy. But here we are, and we are starting to morph a few things. We're starting to do more paid events with our partners. We're starting to look at more in-person events in all of our locations. And how do we do that? We are looking at some new locations. Hopefully those will be coming here soon. Looking at the possibility of some clothing and things like that that we haven't had for years. And so just opening up some possibilities for that income to come in to fund this beautiful thing that we've created. Because even if we don't turn it into massive jobs for everyone, we can't grow if we don't have the funds to do it. And for a long time, I, to be completely transparent, my readings, 100% of them went back to Awkwardly Zen, and that's what funded the community. But now I don't do my other job, and my livelihood is my livelihood. So now there's a little bit of a shift with that, and it's all working out. Like we always end up with the funds that we need at the moment, but we're ready to shift that a little bit more and to allow Awkwardly Zen to grow into the really beautiful thing that I was given as a vision 4 years ago. I'm ready to see how that kind of falls into place. And it's beautiful because the more I just fall into the flow with it and trust that it's coming, the more this person steps in or this person does or this, and they find us. And it's just like you two, like I couldn't imagine of doing this last 4 years without you. And it's so beautiful because, Lori I met before Awkwardly Zen, but she's the reason Awkwardly Zen became a meetup is that I did a reading with her and she said, your soul council says this. Okay. And I did it that night. And, here we are all this time later. And it's so beautiful to watch that. And then Tim, you're the reason we still have guys. Because we went through some tough situations there with some of the male members, which all mirrors my journey, right? Like I was dealing with my own issues within males and the idea of that. And I'm always I tell this to everybody who will listen. I'm like, thank Tim, because we have so many amazing men now. And literally when the conversation first happened of should we turn female only, we were all like, no, we can't do this because Tim is one of our people. And so I'm always so grateful for you. I just told David that the other day that like Tim is the reason that we knew there were good men out there
Yes.
because of Tim. And
Thank
now
you.
we have so many amazing men who have come in, and not with the idea that they're going to take it over, which is what we were dealing with at the beginning, but more that they want to be a part of something and they want to be free to express themselves and do that. And that's not something our culture does for men. So it's been a really fun journey to kind of watch that morph into this beautiful thing as well.
Yeah. Thank you
I
for
can't
sharing
believe,
all of that too.
yeah, absolutely. I can't believe it's been like almost 4 years.
Yeah, in July it'll be 4 years. I know. I know. It feels like yesterday in so many, well, it feels like yesterday, and then it also feels like it's been a million years sometimes. Because it hasn't, it's funny because it's almost like childbirth from what I hear. I've never given birth to a child, but they say you forget it after, which is why you're willing to do it again. And I just came home the other day. We've got a pretty sizable event we're looking at possibly doing maybe in September here in Colorado. So watch for that. And I came home and I was so excited. And my husband was like, I just want to remind you how much work goes into these big events. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I have to like stop and look at 11/11, which is our huge event every year in November. And last year, like we got done with the first day of 11/11 and I got in the car and just started bawling because it was just like, and so I do have to remind myself, but I'm so grateful that I do forget because I don't want to not do it. I don't want to not, and it's worth every moment of it. And we learn valuable lessons with everything that we do so that the next time it's a little easier, a little less time consuming, I hope.
Or not.
Well, the beautiful is there's like 40 volunteers at Awkwardly Zen who help.
Hmm.
So if I had to do this all on my own, there's no way we wouldn't be here because I would have quit a long time ago. So I have such unbelievable support and so many people to the point where I have to start reminding people that they do have to tell me what's going on because they're all trying to like take it off my plate. And then somebody somewhere else will be like, oh, I heard you guys are doing this. And I'm like, we're doing what? Oh, It's just my community. I don't know. So it's funny because sometimes because we have such amazing volunteers, sometimes I'm like, could you please just shoot me a quick email so I know? And it's been fun though to watch people step into their own like role with AZ and run with it. And it's just been beautiful. And what inspiring like qualities everybody has, because man, we got some unbelievable people involved.
We've met some really, really great people
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
Awkwardly Zen, and and certainly through the Spirit Road and everything. But yeah, just really reflecting how everything going online during the pandemic, and I know for me, I was just looking for community. I was lonely. I wanted people to talk to, and the idea of finding a space that was so open and non-judgmental about sharing spirituality or beliefs or whatever, regardless of where you fell on any spectrum. It's like there was a space for you there. And yeah, it's been really wonderful to see the journeys of some of the people that found it in those early days, how they are, yeah, very much stepping into some kind of life path, myself included, that
Yeah.
that was you could attribute to Awkwardly Zen, or you could attribute to the support of the community that developed around that. So yeah, it's been a really wonderful journey.
It
Yeah,
was,
thanks.
I was gonna say, it
Go
was
ahead.
amazing for me because one, I'd never been a joiner, and two, I'd spent my whole life looking for a spiritual community. I felt like I was out here all on my own for so many years. And then when Awkwardly Zen started, it was like when I first met Ari, did a reading for her at a fair, and her whole group of friends were there. So I think I actually saw everybody that day. At the end of the day, I was like, I don't know who those people are, but I want to be in their group. And
Yeah.
then just a few months later, guess what? There was a group to join, which was
Well,
lovely.
but there was the group to join because you're reading. Like that's what's so beautiful. Because I was getting the message, you're supposed to start a community, you're supposed to start a community. And first I was just like, I can't do that. Like I can't. Who am I? Right? I was so new on my path. I had no idea. I'm not a freaking guru. I'm still not a guru. I know a lot. I've learned a lot. I have a lot more left to learn. But it was that idea of I'm supposed to walk alongside people,
Mhm.
not in front of them, right? It's not follow me, it's let me walk with you. And that has been such a beautiful thing. And that came through, and then that is like what unlocked the door. And then I booked that reading with Lori, and then she said start Awkwardly Zen on Meetup, and I was like, okay. And so when I look at that, right, like I can see, because I was getting all these messages, had no idea what to do, but they
Mhm.
needed me to find that awareness. And it's actually, and I've never told her this, I totally should. A friend of mine, Erin from high school, I can remember we were standing outside a coffee shop and we were chatting, and she said, I've had all this crazy stuff happen to me, and I've never been able to talk about it. And it was that exact moment. Gosh, I
Mhm.
should definitely tell her this. That exact moment that I went, oh, okay. Like that's it. It's not about me leading, it's about me creating the space where people who have no one to talk to, or people who do but need more support, can find that. And it's so beautiful when you meet somebody and they go, okay, I had this crazy thing happen to me. Like I'm at a crystal store doing readings and they're like whispering it to me, and I'm like, that's amazing. Tell me more. Or I'm like, ooh, that same thing has happened. And all of the sudden you watch them blossom, right? You watch them go from this, I need to hide, to lighting up, to blooming in this such cool way. And it's like, yeah, come hang out with us. And that is what's so fun. And we joke all the time that we're not a cult, because for lots of reasons, mostly because I'm so paranoid about us not becoming a cult that it's now a joke. But I'm making a t-shirt right now for our t-shirt store that says we're not a cult, and ask questions across it. But I've read so much and done so much research on cults, and one of the things that was said in one of the documentaries was you don't join a cult, you join a good thing. And I've always kept that in my mind of like, we are a good thing. And it's why we are so adamant about staying a good thing. Right. And it requires so much questioning. It requires what's the integrity behind what we're doing, especially when we're looking at becoming a business, right? Because we don't want to alienate all of these beautiful people who have come in any way. We want everyone to feel comfortable and to be totally content with where they are. And we want to create a business. And that's, we can do both of those things. There's not all or nothing. And so watching that and seeing how people are coming in and seeing who steps up and joins our paid memberships and does all the amazing classes, and seeing all of these things that come together, it's so exciting to see that vision. And then, when we're sitting there and I know all the stuff in my head, but nobody else does. So as I'm like running David through all of this and saying, here's what I think, and da da da, and I can see his eyes start to light up. I'm like, all right, that's it. That's why we have new energy that does cycle into the community, because that excitement helps keep everyone going. And I remember I was just telling the volunteers this the other day when we hit 1,000 people. I don't know if you guys remember, but we hit that 1,000 people, and the two of you pulled me aside and said, "We're concerned. We're getting too big. We're getting too big. And what if we lose what's happening?" And I'm so grateful you did that, because in that moment, I had to say, we won't.
Mhm.
We won't. And we haven't, and we won't. Things have twisted, things have changed. We've had to do different things. We've had to adjust here or there. We have 2 moderators for everything instead of 1 moderator, which also was because the 2 of you moderated so beautifully together.
Mm.
So there was all these things that did have to tweak, but somehow we've still managed to keep this lovely community, and people come and go, and they might leave for a while and come back, but when they come back and we all go, yay Tim, right, or yay whoever, it's just so cool to watch them feel home for a minute,
Mhm.
and to know that like they will always be welcome. As long as you're not being hateful, you're welcome. And I think that
Mhm.
it's just been such a joy. I'm so grateful that I didn't get in my own way for longer than I did, because I tried.
So many good thoughts. I feel like I just want to share too, like one of the reasons why I love the paradigm shift discussion, this idea that we live in a world that has agreements and rules that we take for reality. And yet when we look at them closely, we see they are just that. They're agreements. There's
Really.
green means go, red means stop, all of these things. And yeah, but if we look at us like, when did that become the truth or the absolute truth? And I feel like we live in a time right now where the experiences that so many people are having do not fit into that old construct. There's things that are happening that we don't have a method or an idea or an understanding about in our normal day-to-day living that we can talk about it. And so, yeah, and it's kind of like you were saying, somebody kind of whispering to you at a reading or something that they had something incredible happen. I think people are having incredible things happen all the time, and they're all walking down the street next to each other, and nobody knows how to talk about it. And so when they find a space where it feels safe to talk about it, like, we hear the most amazing stories. I mean,
Oh,
just the most incredible things that have happened to people. And then when they have that freedom to be able to express it and then see how that affects other people and how others relate to that, it becomes this big connective experience. And what I love, even like tying it into the social media where we started and all, is like, uh, you know, these experiences that we're having in safe space are kind of permissive of saying, I want to have these experiences in the larger world as a whole. And then it becomes permissive to try new things, to maybe express new things, to put ourselves out there in different ways. And it casts ripples, and it moves beyond the awkwardly zen arena, or bubble, whatever you would say. And suddenly, yeah, so it's like it's the reason why it's growing. It's the reason why it's such a good thing, why there's so many good people here. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how our world starts to change as we find ourselves more comfortable in having conversations about things that didn't used to make sense. Maybe they start to. Yeah.
yeah. And I think when I because I do a lot of coaching, and a lot of times I'm working with people who are still very much in the corporate world or very much within their thing. And I think back to those days that I was trying to juggle both, right? And I was a professional fundraiser and doing a ton of stuff in the middle of Kansas and small towns. And I love my people in the small towns, but I had a limiting belief that I wasn't allowed to be who I really was because they wouldn't understand. And now I look at that and I'm like, there is no need for me to have that belief. And it's some of it's true, right? Some of them wouldn't understand, some of them wouldn't get it. But overall, people are so much more understanding and accommodating than we give them credit for, right? Because we only see the negative. We see the negative on our social media, we see the negative on the news, we see the negative all over. But I'll tell you what, like I have now talked very openly about who I am. When I introduced myself to someone, I used to say, oh, well, I'm a fundraiser and I run a spiritual community. And then I said, I run a spiritual community. I run a spiritual community. And I'd leave out the fact that I'm a psychic. And then one day I was like, I'm done. I walked in, someone said, what do you do? And I said, oh, I run a spiritual community and I'm a psychic. And watching their face. And now I lead with psychic. I'm a psychic and I run a spiritual community because the psychic is what makes me money. The spiritual community is really a glorified hobby. So like I have to, if I don't make it normal, it's not going to be normal. And it took me baby steps. You can watch that walk, but I say this all the time. We don't give baby steps enough credit, right? Babies walking is a miracle. It's like amazing to watch them, and it's hard and it does all of that. And we do these little steps and we discount them as this little thing. No, they're huge. Like when you take that little step, celebrate it, have so much fun with it, because that's what encourages you to take the next step, right? We cheer when a baby takes that first step and they're like, hell yeah, I love this. They probably don't say hell yeah, but and then they take the next step and then the next step, right? So if we did that with ourselves when we're not quite sure on our feet and we celebrated each of these little steps, how much easier would it be to take the next step? And that I think is one of the biggest things that I love about Awkwardly Zen is like when someone comes in and the first thing they say is, I'm new to all of this and I don't know. I think I had a dream the other night, and they're so quiet. And then the next time they come in, they're like, so this happened to me. And then the next time they're coming in and they're like, so I told my friend. And then the next time they're coming in, they're going, I think I might be a psychic. And I am like watching that going, yes, like, and watching people grow. I mean, Tim, bless you. I have been watching you be ready to step into this for so long. And now that you are, and you're doing it on your own, right? It's not Awkwardly Zen doing it for you. You're like, no, I'm finally ready to do this part. And all of us who've been watching all along are like, keep going, keep going. But it's scary, right? It's a scary thing to do. And so I just like, yay for you for taking all those steps. And like, you're gonna be that little kid running around raising hell here in a minute. Right? You got that toddler energy.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting world to be a part of. And holy cow, like the openness. Lori, you've told me stories multiple times about having to hide at the bookstore at the occult section, right? And I'm so grateful for everyone who came ahead of me because it's easy for me to say this right now. There's nobody who's like burning crosses on my lawn, right? There's nobody who's attacking me. There's no one who's going to burn me at the stake, even though I get some people who have threatened some pretty aggressive things in certain locations. Overall, I'm very safe to be myself, and I'm so blessed for that because not everyone in the world is.
True. Absolutely true. And just watching it, because my journey started, in the late 60s, early 70s. And so watching this progress over these years has been amazing to me. And it's gone from basically having one or two people you could sort of whisper with about this stuff, or maybe find somebody who could do an astrology reading for you quietly, to it's cultural now. It's open, it's out there. And so many people now are being drawn in and finding their own place in spirituality and whatever their interest is. It's been such a gift to be able to see this evolution that's happened. Because I spent so long being on this journey alone, basically, that it's nice now to see such a nice community and to know there's more and more and more out there every day. And it's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's like, I think there's no place you can go now where you could say to somebody, oh, I do tarot readings, or oh, I channel, and they would know what that means. And they wouldn't look at you like you were mentally ill and needed
Yeah.
medication.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and even like I read at some crystal stores in the area, and you know, very much suburban energy. And it's one of my favorite things because I'd say probably at one of the stores I read at, probably 50 to 60%, if not more, are people who have never had a reading before. And there's a safety, right? I look like everyone's soccer mom. So people come in and they go, ooh, a reading, and I smile and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And they're like, I'm scared. And I laugh and go, what are you scared of? I'm not going to tell you anything bad. You know, we're just going to talk through what's going on with your life. And so when they sit down and they realize that these little pieces of paper and my tapping into them can help them figure stuff out, can acknowledge things that are going on in their life. It's so beautiful to watch that. And I especially love when some wife drags her husband in and makes him do it. And I hate to be, I'm not trying to be sexist. It just literally happens all the time. And many times, these men will sit across from me like this. And then we get going. And by the end, they're like, how did you know that? That's so crazy. And I giggle the whole time because it's just so fun to watch people's minds open. Right. I did a corporate event the other day, and it was like 10 people from like a cybersecurity firm. So much fun, so great. Young man, you could tell he was like, what the heck are we doing here? Like, this makes no sense to me. And by the end, he was a firm believer that young man will never discount psychic abilities ever again, because I was able to call out something in his life that there's no way I could have known. And so it's just those really cool moments that like his mind will be open. He probably won't go into metaphysics in any way, but he at least has an open mind. Like the blinders got widened a little bit. And that I think is what's happening with all of this is
Yes.
everyone wants to feel more at home in their own skin. But we have been taught through all of these years to be very narrow, right? Which then comes into our bodies. Like we feel like we have to fit in. But now look around, like fashion tells you everything. Everybody is wearing whatever they want to wear right now. And it's so freaking cool. Like it's so neat to walk in and everyone compliments everything. I have the craziest clothes in the world. And I have all these young people who are like, oh my God, I love that so much. Oh my God, I get that. And I'm just like, why did I not do this my whole life? But it's freer now. There's more openness to it. So wear whatever you want to wear, say whatever you want to say, be kind. Like that's really all I feel like we have to do is be kind.
Yes.
Sounds like
Yes.
a great bookend to our conversation there.
Absolutely.
Hi.
Yeah.
That's what it all
Thanks for
comes down
having
to.
me.
Oh,
Thank you so
it's
much
so
for
fun.
being here.